Okay, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for our Fostering Harmony in Shared Spaces webinar. I'm happy to have you here with us. We're excited to share some tips about, how to create a great living space for you and your roommates, whether they're current roommates or new roommates. Happy to be here to support you through this transitional time of the academic year. We'll get started here now. My name is Evan Jones. I am a housing specialist here with Columbia Residential. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I'm joined here with my colleague.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jack. I use he, him, his, and I am the Assistant Manager of Leasing Operations. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. We're really excited to dive into this topic and get you all off on a successful start for your academic year.
So to start off, we're going to just take a quick look at the agenda. We're going to go over how to create a positive roommate relationship, go over your roommate rights, responsibilities, talk about respect for community and mediation, talk a bit about, how do you even have a positive roommate relationship? What does that look like? Um, talk about the roommate agreement, some policy review, and then a question and answer at the end. And we do ask that you save your questions for the very end of the presentation. We've built this presentation to hopefully answer those along the way, but obviously, if you have anything at the end, please do ask. We're happy to assist. So roommate rights and responsibilities. Living with roommates or suite mates in a shared apartment is definitely a unique experience. So we're going to go over some key rights and responsibilities that you have so that you feel comfortable and your roommates feel comfortable and respected in their shared space. So first off, all roommates have the right to basic contact information about their assigned roommates. So this includes your roommate's name, the school at Columbia University that they're a part of, as well as an email address. And all of this is gained through the housing portal. And beyond this, any other personal information remains private, just to ensure that everyone's boundaries are respected. So you have some choice about any additional details you would like to share with your roommate. That is up to you. Additionally, just as you have access to that contact information, that means your roommates also have access to your contact information. And that's just a way to kind of initiate that initial bit of communication to figure out what's the chain going to look like as we establish our relationship. You also have the right to equal access to common areas in your apartment. So these spaces are meant for everybody. So they shouldn't be used for storage or reserved for just one person's exclusive use. It shouldn't be turned into like a music studio or an art gallery, unless that's decided between all the roommates. But it's really meant to be shared and enjoyed, and by everybody in the apartment. And this is inclusive of cabinets, kitchen, cabinets, the kitchen fridge, any closets. We want to make sure that people are able to live equally and fairly in the space. So be sure to make space for your new roommates if they're coming in, or have a conversation with your roommate if you need an extra shelf in the cabinet. Cleanliness is another big part of the common area experience. And, hopefully we all want to live in a clean environment, and maintaining a tidy space helps everyone feel more comfortable. We firmly believe that. And so at Columbia Residential, all residents are expected to keep their rooms and common areas clean, neat, and uncluttered. So this means regularly taking out the trash and recycling. You can check your building's website through Columbia Residential to find the specific day just by typing your address, and we'll have those days for pickup. Hopefully you have a plan for keeping the space clean by actually maybe having a chore chart, or maybe assigning certain parts of the apartment to different roommates who would prefer, like, you clean the kitchen and I'll take care of the bathroom, and trading off every so often. Whatever that looks like, you can visualize it. But keeping up with cleanliness just makes the space nicer, and it helps avoid also any potential fines or cleaning charges from our department. And then finally, respecting each other's private space is very critical and crucial. You have the right to your own personal space, and that goes both ways. So always ask for permission before entering your roommate's room. And this simple act just shows respect for their privacy. I live in a shared apartment myself right now, and I very much enjoy getting to close my own bedroom door and having some solitude. I love being around my roommates, but I also love my time alone. Living together just means balancing the shared responsibilities and respecting each other's rights. So by being considerate and proactive, you're helping to create a positive living environment for everyone. Next, we'll chat a bit about the respect for community and mediation. Um, those are, we've gone over the rights as your roommate, so we can take a look at your rights as a tenant and as an affiliate of Columbia Residential. We do strive to foster mature and communicative living spaces, and knowing your rights helps create that environment. So first and foremost, you have the right to be treated with respect and to live in an environment that is free from any harassment. Everyone deserves to feel safe and valued in their living space. We hope that is a shared value with all of our affiliates. So again, just to reiterate, everyone deserves to feel safe and valued in their living space. You also have the right to speak up and address any problems or concerns related to your living arrangements. Open communication is very key to resolving those issues and ensuring this harmonious living experience is possible. So feel like you have an opportunity to speak to your roommates and feel like you have an opportunity to connect to us. Not just if you're having roommate concerns, but also if you have any concerns with facilities or maintenance in your apartment, you have that right to communicate with us. And then finally, you have the right to a living space that is free from any actions that interfere with the above rights, as well as the roommate rights as we discussed earlier. So by respecting each other's boundaries and rights, we can all contribute to a positive and supportive community. Remember, maintaining a respectful and open atmosphere benefits everybody. So creating a home where you can feel comfortable and supported, I think, is really, really going to be key here. So what does a positive roommate relationship even look like? That's a fantastic question. On our next slide here, we'll see a nice roommate opportunity, bonding over dishes. They're talking about how do we clean up the Tupperware on the top shelf there. I can imagine the conversation right now. They're smiling, they're laughing. The best way to do that is to just communicate, to have a conversation. It all starts with communication. Misunderstandings create stress and conflict. That's a fantastic quote there on the slide. It's very true. And the best way to avoid misunderstandings is just to open up, have conversations about your experiences. That way it can go a long way in preventing conflicts and to build that understanding. And so if you're unsure of where to start, when it comes to having these conversations or how to communicate, here's some example topics that you can discuss with your roommate. Talk about your personal habits. Share the little things that make you you. Understanding each other's habits helps create a more comfortable living environment. Like, what are the things that have made you happy previously in your living arrangements? Like, do you love getting to read quietly on a Sunday morning? Do you enjoy getting to watch Grey's Anatomy in the living room every evening with some friends? Talk about those things that have made you happy in the past and figure out how they can make you happy in this current space and what's possible with your current roommates. Discuss your schedules. What's your daily routine? Are you an early bird? Are you a night owl? Knowing your schedule and communicating that schedule will help your roommate navigate the shared living experience as well. And then think about the home maintenance, like, maybe set up a chore schedule or creating a plan for buying shared essentials like toilet paper, hand soap, dishwashing liquid. Or maybe that just isn't what's going to work for your roommates. You don't want to share certain things. That's fine too. It's up to you to work together to figure out what the upkeep looks like. That way your home feels welcoming for everybody. And then also think about the guest policy. I think this is a really critical part of just having conversations. It's easy to overlook this. So just be intentional about, what are your preferences, what are your flexibilities around having guests over, and find a balance that works for everyone's comfort. These are just a few ideas to get a conversation started. I think if you start with these bits, I think more will kind of naturally come along in a conversation. If you cover the basics, you'll really set the stage for a positive and cooperative roommate experience. Now, the next slide here, we can kind of work through a little bit of what can a conversation actually look like? How do I create that roommate relationship from the get-go here? And for an example, we can talk about the cleanliness of the bathroom, right? Maybe you're finding that the shower just needs some extra TLC, needs a little bit of that extra love and attention to make sure, that you find that you just have a different preference in cleanliness in the bathroom. You would like it to be a little bit cleaner. Maybe the hand soap has been running out soon and it's your roommate's turn to buy. How do you have a conversation about these things? So a great starting point is looking at your own responsibility in the apartment. What is your role in keeping the shower clean? What is your role in, the shared toiletries that you have with the hand soap. You obviously have a responsibility of creating a positive environment. That's really kind of essential here. So how do you approach this conversation with kindness and consideration without minimizing your desires and your asks? Next, think about that mutually beneficial solution to your concern. How do you imagine, the upkeep of the bathroom maybe looking a little bit different? What are you hoping to accomplish here? So come up with a suggestion or a solution ahead of discussing with your roommate. And that can really show that you've thought through the concern and that you're not putting the full responsibility on your roommate. It takes some effort to think of a solution. So don't just enter the conversation with, hey, here's my problem. You got to do something about it. Think about what that thing, what a solution can look like in action. Again, it's everyone's responsibility to communicate and fulfill expectations. So be sure to come prepared to support your goal. Next, we keep saying it, but communication really is everything. So stay calm, maybe practice what you want to say beforehand. That way you can really set a good tone for your conversation. Aim for clear and straightforward communication to help prevent those misunderstandings. A great tip to use is using I statements to really focus on your needs rather than what your roommate may be doing wrong or your concerns with them. So instead of saying, you take a really long time in the shower in the morning, and I think that you're making a massive mess. You could say, I feel like the bathroom isn't as clean for use often enough, and I have a couple ideas on how to keep it cleaner. Can we maybe set up a time to talk about this, or is now a good time to chat about it? And, starting these conversations might feel a little awkward at first, but they are definitely the first step toward a smoother living situation. Next, then with that, it's all about listening. So use those active listening skills. Think about how to plan in the conversation. Again, living together affects everybody. It's not an isolated experience. You're not alone in this. It's you and your roommates. So it's important to hear your roommate's side of the experience as well. And you might be surprised to learn how your actions impact them too in the apartment. So keep the conversation, the discussion open, and keeping it respectful. That'll create a space where everyone can feel heard. And again, it sets that positive tone for any future chats down the line when maybe it's the kitchen that we need to have a conversation about. And then now that you have your shared needs kind of established in a conversation, you've listened to theirs and what their hopes are, it's time to think about how your actions are going to go into effect. How do they fit into the mix here? So taking responsibility for your part and being open to adjustments shows maturity. That helps strengthen your roommate relationship. And then even if you don't fully agree on everything, acknowledging each other's experiences really goes a long way. And now think about how are you going to implement your conversation in person, right? There's one thing about, we've had the conversation, it's very hypothetical, but how do we go about and bringing that into the real life experience of our apartment? You should assess this, you should implement it, and you need to regroup often with your current roommates. Maybe the implementation, for the bathroom, maybe it was a cleaning schedule, and now it's actually taking too much time out of everybody's, study experience. And so maybe lessening is the goal now. Maybe we're doing too much in the bathroom. We don't have enough time. So again, keep those conversations open with each other and just kind of, it's a circle, right? It's a continual conversation. You'll be having these conversations throughout your living experience. And so I'm going to actually now pass it over to Jack here. He's going to go over some really good tools to refer to when thinking about, building that positive roommate relationship.
All righty. Thank you, Evan, for going over and discussing our strategies for creating an effective roommate relationship. This is the foundation for your time together, but as you can expect, a lot can happen in a year. People get busy, they get distracted, they get frustrated, and all kinds of new stressors are going to come into play. That is why we really recommend doing a roommate agreement at the beginning of the year. This is a tool that can help you and your roommate get on the same page regarding everything that may happen in an apartment. It can help you set a schedule for cleaning or paying for common goods, how you want to share your common spaces, all kinds of different stuff. This can be put in place so that if issues do occur later in the school year, you're going to be able to go back to this agreement and work off the agreed expectations that you set for each other. Something else to note is that this is a living document. You ever find that part or all of this agreement no longer works for you, you can always revisit and adjust your expectations to better meet your needs. This sample roommate agreement can be found on our website under our roommates rights and responsibilities page. Additionally, we also just put it in the chat if you want to link it there. You can also feel free to edit or create an entirely new template according to you and your roommate's needs. This is a document that's for you. It's not monitored or enforced by us, but it is a really great tool for you and your roommate to get off on the right foot. So, as Evan outlined, it is an expectation that all of our residents take responsibility for speaking with each other about issues that appear in your apartment. The roommate agreement is a great tool to help navigate those conversations, but every now and then conflict does occur. Commonly, we hear from students in roommate conflicts, they want to transfer, they want to get out of this space. But however, due to our process of our housing cycle, we just don't have the inventory to keep up with transfers outside of October and February's general transfer round. This is why we are still here to help, though, and we'd be happy to provide our mediation services. Mediation is a conversation between you and your roommates, where one of our residential team members are also present to help facilitate and keep the conversation on topic. These can be difficult but rewarding conversations that help provide you the tools to communicate. And if everyone shows up with an open mind and ready to compromise, it can set you and your roommate up to have a successful academic year together. Alrighty, so now that we've set the expectations for what roommate conversation and connection should look like, let's chat about some of the key policies that need to be followed in order to maintain that community harmony you've created and started to build. One of the largest points of conflict is the levels of noise that is produced by each member of an apartment. These are places where you'll be living, and living is noisy by default, especially here in New York City. It is totally reasonable to expect that you're going to make noise in your daily living patterns and that you can expect to hear the noise of your roommate. But it is also important to keep this at a reasonable and non-offensive level. You do have the right to live free from excessively loud noise and interference. Keep this in mind when setting the volume of on your music or television, or if you play an instrument. While you don't necessarily need to keep it on mute, put it to a level that would bother your roommate or create unnecessary tension. Unless you're watching it together, which we certainly recommend. Also, be sure to keep in mind quiet hours are Sunday through Thursday from 11 p.m. to 8 a.m. and Friday and Saturday from 1 a.m. to 8 a.m. This just means to be extra cognizant of your noise, as roommates and neighbors are likely to be sleeping at this time. Additionally, one of the largest policy violations we see is not having rugs that cover 80% of your apartment. This includes the entire apartment, even where there is furniture. This is actually a standard across New York City. As these buildings have some years on them, we find that noise can echo through in unpredictable patterns and will amplify where there are no rugs. This means that even if you're not making much noise, you may get noise complaints, as it can sound much louder to your neighbors. Rugs make up the majority of our policy notices, so be sure to get ahead on this issue. Another common concern is our guest policy. To put it plainly, you are welcome to have an overnight guest for up to 4 nights a month. This means you can have one visitor at a time, and either for 4 nights in a row or in different chunks. This helps to ensure that no member of the apartment takes over as utilizing the space more than another. You may have more visitors, friends that come over but don't necessarily stay with you, but you want to discuss both of these with your roommate before they arrive. Some roommates will want significant advance notice, while others are comfortable with a casual mention. This is a great discussion topic to have in your roommate agreement. When you do have a guest, it is your responsibility to ensure that you accompany them at all times. They should not be left in the apartment or building without you, and you are responsible for ensuring that they follow all residential policies and procedures. Keep in mind that if you have an open bedroom in your apartment, that is not a guest room. It is an open unit that may be rented at any point in time, and guests are not permitted inside of them. Your guests should be staying inside your bedroom with you and not in any of the common spaces or of the apartment. Lastly, please note that hosts may not accept payments for their guests for staying there. These should be your friends and family, not necessarily someone you are subletting to. Speaking of subletting, we commonly see that roommate conflicts occur around the issue of subletting. Important to note that each of our residents in buildings that allow subletting have the right to do so. In the summer or winter months, you can do so for any reason. And during the semester, you're still capable of doing so as long as you have the support of your school. Essentially, that means if you're going away for a school-sponsored activity or event, that could be an opportunity for you to sublet your space. As each student has the right to sublet their unit, it is not required that you get permission from your roommate to do so. However, we really do recommend having a conversation to ensure that all parties will remain comfortable with the arrangement you set up. The subtenant must also be aware of and follow all of the policies at Columbia Residential, and they should be also included into the roommate agreement. We have seen success from subtenants and roommates creating their own roommate agreements for the time that the subtenant is there. Also important to note, if you're in a single gender apartment, your subtenant must share the same gender identity as the residents of the apartment currently. And the last policy that I really want to talk about today is the expectations around assistance animals. So uh, pets are not allowed in any of our Columbia residential properties. However, registered assistance animals with the Office of Disability Services can be approved to stay within the unit. This can sometimes come as a surprise to roommates, but they are approved and allowed to be in the space. If you do find yourself with an assistance animal, please remember to follow the guidelines here. One of the most common issues that we see, the assistance animal should not leave your bedroom unit. While you may be approved to have an animal, it should make as minimal impact on your roommate as possible, meaning the animal should not be in the common spaces like the living room or kitchen. If you are away from your apartment, your animal should be kept in a crate in your bedroom. Additionally, if you leave overnight, you must take your animal with you. It is not an expectation that your roommate care for them, and they cannot be left overnight in the apartment without you there. Please keep this in mind when you're making plans and find arrangements for them while you are away. Sometimes we find that students don't want to live with a roommate who has an assistance animal. If you're in that position, the only way to guarantee not to live with an assistance animal would be to get an ODS accommodation based on allergies. Other than that, the assistance animal may be approved at any time, but these guidelines are in place to ensure that you can still feel comfortable in your space. And this leads me to my last point. Be sure to explore beyond your apartment. Remember, you're not only at Columbia University, but here in New York City. There's so many ways to get involved and build community outside of your living environment. New York is a big place. Personally, I've been here for 4 years, and I fall more in love with it every single day. The best part of this city is that you can find community around any and all of your passions. So be sure to take advantage of these opportunities so you can come back and share all the exciting experiences you have with your roommate.
Great. So here are some quick links to take a look at. You can chat with us, so different ways to connect. We are available on our live chat during our business hours, as well as available by email at all times. Our office is open from 9 to 5, so you can expect responses during that period, and we'll do our best to get back to you as quickly as possible. Definitely connect with us if there's extra questions after this that you feel are a bit more specific to your case or to your needs. Jack and I are here to help and support, and we have some additional colleagues in the office that you'll hear from and see when supporting you during your time with us at Columbia Residential. And then take a quick scan here just to get quick access to our website. Use the QR code with your camera app. That'll bring you direct to us. And that is it for us today. So thank you for joining. Again, my name's Evan. I'm a housing specialist here. I'm sure we'll see each other around during the academic year and the years to come.
Absolutely. And again, I've been Jack. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Hope your semester is getting off to a great start, and we'll look forward to seeing you all soon.